Sometimes you play a game so mysterious you think, maybe I need to play something a little more relaxing, like a horror game. This is why today we're diving into the 7 most mysterious video games, Part 2, brought to you by Doomsday Last Survivors. If you're searching for something that isn't going to drive you crazy, Doomsday Last Survivors is the ultimate zombie adventure to keep you entertained for hours. Available on Android, iOS, and PC. Plus, it's free. Doomsday Last Survivors is a zombie survival strategy game set apart with the ability to alter your route at any time, sneak around enemy lines, or hide in the refuge of your allies with multiple styles of gameplay, as you customize shelters, recruit heroes, and train them to fight off endless waves of zombies in a realistic world. Stay tuned to the end of the video and don't miss how to win $500 cash in 2 easy ways, simply by playing the game, using my link in the description down below. Station.exe. Station.exe is... who the hell knows? Station.exe is a particularly strange mystery that's haunted many such as myself for years, that's only evaded this channel so far because I only recently remembered the name of it. Station.exe first appeared on the internet on 4chan sometime around 2013, when an anonymous user posted the file, saying they found it on a disc that came in a CD case they bought at a tech expo, with no explanation of what it was, and that they booted it up to find the single file Station.exe. Station.exe is a simple game where there isn't much to do except explore the environment, while ominous ambient noises play in the background. The station is mostly dark passages with rather basic geometry scattered around, which makes it all the more creepy when what the f is that thing? When these giant moon-looking faces randomly pop out to scare the hell out of you, and then immediately crash the game. The mystery goes even deeper than that, as it was discovered in the game on one of the walls were these letters and numbers, which were actually coordinates. The coordinates turned out to belong to what appears to be an abandoned diamond mine in Siberia that resembles the station seen in the game, although as of now, no one has traveled there and found if anything is actually there. Data miners ripped open the files of the game to reveal many more discoveries, both strange and outright sketchy, as they very eerily saw what appeared to be lots of disconnected references to the weapons discussion board in 4chan, as well as a link to a website called Semper Protonum, which is no longer online and was a barren cryptic site with more references to the weapons board, and had most of its pages made inaccessible without a password, leaving the trail cold. The only remaining possibility at this point seems to be going to Siberia to check out the station itself, but since the area it's located in is currently prohibited, I'm not sure it's worth getting arrested over. Doesn't look like we'll be solving this one anytime soon. Who's Lila? Thanks to Oskar K for submitting this through Oddheader.com. Who's Lila released on Steam in 2022 from Gaijin. Self-described as a reverse detective point-and-click adventure, Who's Lila is an unnerving game that looks like David Lynch directed a Game Boy title, in which you follow the unsettling character of William who doesn't know how to express emotion, thus requiring the player to click and drag his face into different expressions in order to advance the story. The game takes place after the disappearance of a girl named Tanya at Will's high school, where the player can take multiple routes as Will, navigating dreamlike environments as you piece together the mystery of what happened. The game is a trippy mess where the explanation to the mystery seemingly changes depending on which of the 15 endings that you get, throwing everything at you from realistic explanations to psychedelic ideas and conspiracies about parallel realities and the nature of consciousness, all of which could be connected. Despite completing all the endings, the game never fully answers a number of questions, like who the f is this dude called the Stranger, who shows up a number of times, or why the story devolves into a fixation on wheels. Players even found if they were to corrupt one of their save files, they'd be teleported to a strange environment where debug text can be seen in the corner of the screen. Walking around the environment, the player can find a number of unusual discoveries, but most interesting is a character named William, who lets you ask one question about the game, and then disappears forever, even if you reload the save file. So far, players have managed to find 10 questions that William will answer, though it's believed there's more questions to ask William that have never been found, with some in the Steam forums believing based on evidence in the data that there's at least one question that still hasn't been asked for William to answer. Oh, William. I just got that. Despite that question still not being found, no one's really getting their hopes up that it's going to answer anything. Unfortunately, as with most things in this game, more often than not, William's answers don't tend to make a lot of sense. Gaijin Charenji 1. Kiss or Kill. Thanks to Edwin for submitting this mystery through Oddheader.com. Gaijin Charenji 1 Kiss or Kill is an unnerving descent into insanity. Released in 2019 on Xbox One and later on Steam, the game begins by letting you choose either love or hate as a playable character, and drops you into a series of retro arcade-style levels where your objective is to shoot and avoid obstacles and to get to the finish line, while cheery music plays in the background. That lasts about a few seconds, as every act of destruction increases your negative karma, which devolves more more and more into chaotic hell, adding in gruesome obstacles, flashing lights, and full motion video of what appears to be a programmer in a mask reacting to your gameplay, slowly doing increasingly horrifying things to retro consoles, such as attaching a Game Boy to his arm and cutting open his stomach to insert the game. What in the On one level, you can branch off the normal path and find yourself in a movie theater where you can watch the entirety of Night of the Living Dead, which due to a copyright error made in the 1960s is a public domain film, so I guess we can't say they stole it. Players can also switch to kiss mode at any time, which throws kisses at enemies rather than shooting them, but still doesn't dial down any of the insanity, with the game now accompanied by scantily clad anime girls in increasingly scandalous positions. At least it's better than this shit. The game continues to be interrupted by more disturbing absolute nonsense messages and batshit insane videos until you finally meet Saddam Hussein, surrounded by a crowd protesting violence in video games. What? And yes, you can either kill the dictator or send kisses to him for the achievement A Dictator Needs Love Too. I'm not sure about that one. Perhaps strangest of all is the story surrounding the game itself, as the developer Overgame Studio claims that development began in 1998 by Yoshiro Takahashi for the Dreamcast, but the project was scrapped when Sega discontinued the console. Then in 2017, Takahashi's son Yusuke picked the project up after his father's death and finished the game, although some believe this story isn't true. While the story is plausible, the psychopathic Michael Myers videos and anime girls definitely don't look like they're from 1998, and the seemingly creepypasta-inspired content didn't exist back then. However, these could have all been added by Yusuke to a game concept created and designed by his father, perhaps giving his own interpretations to his father's ideas. After all, he does say in the credits he hoped to achieve the original meaning of his father's game, and I can't help but think this probably wasn't what he wanted. Unfortunately, this may be a mystery we'll never know the answer to, unless Sega or someone could confirm if Kiss or Kill was on a list of scrap projects for the Dreamcast. But considering the nature of this game, I wouldn't be surprised if they denied involvement either way. Germs, Nerawareta Machi. Thanks to Rebecca for submitting this mystery on the Oddheader Discord. Germs Nerawareta Machi, or Germs the Targeted City, is a first-person mystery adventure game released in 1999 for the PlayStation. Released only in Japan, it's one of the rarest PlayStation games of all time, and one that has baffled even its most dedicated fans. Right off the bat, Germs is unique from any other game, with rather disturbing cover art featuring a pile of nude, disfigured bodies that I'm gonna have trouble showing here. That's of course only where the weirdness begins, as you play as a reporter investigating the strange mutated creatures popping up in your hometown, and the mysterious glowing object that might have something to do with it. Germs takes place in this eerie, huge open world, with everything gray and mostly deserted, with equally eerie NPCs who strangely have actual photograph faces, or no face at all. HajimeTheFool on my Discord server points out this may be because the final release version of the game is said to be unfinished, as the developer KAJ closed down and is said to have not been able to finish the game before folding, possibly explaining why the buildings look like untextured models. As far as what we know, KAJ was an animation company and Germs was their first and only game, and featured a number of incredibly unique and ambitious gameplay mechanics for the time, such as a day and night cycle that changes what's accessible when, an elaborate bus and subway system, and the ability to drive a car around the open world. Also, whenever you kill one of these hideous monstrosities of glitchy polygonal mutants, you're shot with a psychic blast of their memories, which helps unravel the game's story. What's never been unraveled, however, is the mystery surrounding the hidden video on the game disc that shows an alien spaceship flying around another planet. It's unclear if this is the product of the game not being finished, or if it's another one of the countless things in the game that we just don't understand, especially considering there doesn't appear to be any real ending to the game that we know of, with the game seemingly continuing on endlessly even after there's nothing left to do, as if the player's caught in some sort of odd purgatory. Fortunately, an English translation is underway for later this year, though based on how things went with Garage Bad Dream Adventure, don't get your hopes up for that translation making sense of anything. Microsoft Game Pass. Thanks to the HomeFrontHunter, HajimeTheFool, and Fancy Arnold for submitting this mystery on the Oddheader Discord and Reddit. The Microsoft Store is a digital storefront for the Xbox game library, and while there's no mystery there, some odd things have been appearing on the storefront for the Xbox Game Pass program that have baffled the few players who have managed to spot them. Beginning as far back as 2019, Fancy Arnold reported that they saw a strange game they don't remember the name of on Game Pass and tried to install it, which when they tried to play only presented a loading screen that went to about 80% and froze. mouse, but that they were able to control the progress of the loading bar with their right thumbstick, only for the game to never fully load and to be deleted from both the store and their download history the next day. Yarnold remembers the words circuit and breaker being in the title, although a game with that title does exist, and looks nothing like what they saw back in 2019. Fortunately, a few players have managed to actually capture evidence of similar discoveries that give credence to Yarnold's story. In July of 2022, Phantom Ghost 491 on YouTube caught that a game labeled as a test app showed up on the store, with an illustration of a die as the cover art. Phantom Ghost decided to risk whatever the test app was hiding and downloaded it from the store, which when launched only gave him the message, "Dice says hello," and when he pressed the only option, View Dice Package in Store, it simply took him back to the store page where he originally downloaded the title. Fun game. Then in September of 2022, HomeFrontHunter reported finding perhaps the most interesting unexplained game found in Game Pass yet, with the image for the game on the store page just being a carton of Ben & Jerry's half-baked ice cream. HomeFrontHunter was actually able to install and play the game, and like the title suggested, was a half-baked game with the only objective being to hit all the targets in a certain order before time runs out, and not long after that, the game mysteriously disappeared from the store as well. Well, make sure to get Game Pass now if you haven't already. With amazing games like these, you're not going to want to be missing out. Strawberry Cubes. Thanks to Rebecca for submitting this mystery on the Oddheader Discord. Strawberry Cubes is a platformer released in 2015 for Windows and Mac by game creator Lauren Smith. Smith offers very little information about the game or how it works, dropping players into a cryptic 16-bit red, black, and white environment as a small girl, offering only a README file that explains a few simple controls and the advice to try pressing other keys, get a cup of tea, and draw a map. The game is a distorted mess, glitching out and falling apart at the seams at any given time, which usually leads to the game crashing entirely. Despite this, using glitches to your advantage appears to be one of the only ways to progress through the game, other than mashing keys, as there isn't a fixed set of controls and pressing random keys can do an assortment of different things, such as opening up hidden areas of the environment, making walls disappear, and spawn unexplainable things such as chickens who shoot laser beams from their butts. The game does give obtuse hints about what keys to press when you acquire a new ability, but is never clear about when you've received these abilities. The only clear mechanic is the ability to collect seeds, which can be planted to grow tall flowers the players can climb to reach new areas, though it's unclear what direction you're supposed to go in, and to help matters, every time you revisit an area, it completely changes on you. There's also these purple icons scattered across the game that every time you collect one, teleports you to a room with a red woman inside. At the top of the screen is the only form of a progress tracker anyone has surmised, as the number represents your number of purple icons collected and each corresponding individual icon you found. It's still unknown how many purple icons there are to find and if anything happens when they're all collected, as it's also still unknown if the game even has an ending. The only explanation that anyone has is that the game isn't supposed to make sense, as Smith revealed in an interview that she made Strawberry Cubes as an interpretation of a relationship with her grandmother, who had Alzheimer's disease, which could make the unnerving nature of the game more morbid than it appears, if it is meant to portray the difficulty of navigating the world for those who have Alzheimer's. Though laser-ass chickens, still a bit confused about that one. Poop Slinger. Yeah, Poop Slinger. Thanks to LinaLina for submitting this mystery on the Oddheader Discord. Poop Slinger is an actual game released in 2018 on Steam and PlayStation 4 by the indie developer Diggity.net. While you can buy a digital copy of Poop Slinger right now if you feel inclined, there is also a physical PlayStation 4 release of the game that will set you back $20,000, as it's the rarest PlayStation 4 release of all time. That's right, a game called Poop Slinger is $20,000. Of course, you may be wondering, why? And that's where shit gets real weird. The physical copy was released by Limited Rare Games, which is definitely not to be confused with Limited Run Games, the popular publisher of limited collector's editions of games. Limited Rare, however, appeared to only exist to confuse the marketplace into thinking it was Limited Run, even using the exact font for its logo. Limited Run told publication Video Games 24/7 they had nothing to do with Limited Rare, and that they had asked them to change their logo. Not much is known about Limited Rare even by Poop Slinger's developers Diggity, who said the publisher approached them months before Poop Slinger's release, offering to put out a physical copy of the game on April 1st of that year, and said after a contract to QA test from Sony and a payout, they never heard from them again. And judging by the date April 1st, made many suspicious of whether the whole thing was an April Fool's joke or not, which I wouldn't know anything about. The sales page also seemed to be a joke, with hardly anything but a picture of the game, a buy button, and Russian text that translates to "We reserve the right to maintain and store your personal information," which basically meant no one planned to buy this poop. According to Limited Rare themselves, because they are Russian and only recently moved to the US, they had no idea April Fool's was a holiday. And on release day, Limited Rare tweeted they weren't selling enough copies and wouldn't be able to pay back the bank loan they took out to fund the release, and would have to raise the price of the game. Maybe they should have thought of this before they placed all their bets on Poop Slinger. At the end of the day, Limited Rare declared bankruptcy, announcing they only sold 84 of the planned 820 copies. Despite this, those who bought copies reported that they did arrive in the mail, while the unsold copies of the game were said to have been given to the bank as collateral, meaning apparently a bank is out there somewhere with nearly 1,000 copies of Poop Slinger in the vault. The madness continued when someone else later bought the Limited Rare domain and began publishing even more extremely limited PS4 releases under that name, including Machi and Antarctica 88. Then a book was also released on Amazon called Limited Rare Games: The Truth, originally retailing for $250, which says it will reveal the truth behind the company. Well, I managed to snag a copy that was fortunately less than $250, and I gotta say, this book doesn't tell us shit. On the same page as it says it's a true story, and names have been changed to protect the guilty, the fine print below literally says it's a work of fiction. The whole thing is a strange story about Walmart employees who are targeted by assassins when they start printing rare video games, ultimately blowing up their well-known competitor and meeting Death Metal Buddha along the way. Which sounds suspiciously like YouTuber Metal Jesus Rocks, who has talked about this game before. Does he have something to do with this? Then again, Colonel Sanders also shows up at the end of the story, so I'm probably just looking too much in a game about flinging people. And thanks again to Doomsday Last Survivors for sponsoring this video. Not only can you join forces with other players and alliances and take on challenges together, there's plenty of heroes to choose from, such as Hank Janovitz or Catherine, who has the special ability to shoot these crazy spinning chainsaws at zombies, which is pretty badass. There's $500 cash up for grabs in 2 easy ways. There's a might ranking where the top player wins a $100 cash prize, and more winners will be selected to win a $50 prize. Click the link in the description down below to unlock a free gift pack worth $200 and check out Doomsday Last Survivors today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and if you know of any other mysterious video games that you'd like to see me cover, submit through Oddheader.com, come join the Discord, or even send me a shout through Twitter or Reddit. And thanks again to Slippy Slides for helping me get the footage in this video. Feel free to subscribe to him down below as well. Shout out to Angel the Fox, Ash Photography, BitWiff27, Grow Ups, Chad Biscuits, Ed Moffat, Eddie Talkspin the Bleach Primid, Flex, Fox M Cloud 123, J1221J, Miss Arctic Foxy, Rackman22, Red Team Medic, Riley S, Robert Eisenman, Rolkot Miflua, Starcore 2, Tenryu Yui Arnet, Terran Stock, Towerizer, Chal Z, and Jan Banier for their Patreon support. Stay tuned.